Hi everyone! I hope you're all having a lovely day. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature. I've had access to an early build of the pack and I've been exploring it for the last couple weeks. Thanks to EA for inviting me to this early access opportunity. This is my first time being invited to early access, and the process is a little bit weird. An entirely new beta version of The Sims 4 was added to my library with only the base game and the new pack, so I can't speak too much on cross-pack compatibility. I will try to mention any bugs that I experienced, but keep in mind they might hopefully be fixed by the time the pack is officially released, and I'm sure other creators experienced bugs that I didn't. As you can see, I made a nice PowerPoint presentation to help format my review. Back in May, before I knew that they were releasing a fairy pack, I promised my Twitch chat a Sims 4 Fairies PowerPoint night as a charity incentive. I planned to go over what features I would want in my dream fairy pack. However, as you may have noticed, I have already played with the Sims 4 Fairies pack, so that idea won't work. Instead, this video will serve as the Fairies PowerPoint night. So buckle in, let's talk about The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature, the good, the mid, and the flop.
Any game footage that you see is not final software and things may change before the pack releases.
We'll start with something straightforward. Create a sim. Obviously, in a pack about fairies, create a sim is hugely important. Everybody wants wings, and something probably better than these crappy ones. There is definitely a lot to like in Create a Sim. My favorite things added in CAS for this pack are probably genetics. First of all, pointy ears. The D&D and romantasy freaks are quaking. It's me, I'm both. We also got some scary teeth that are, for better or worse, available to all Sims. There are some new scary fae face presets. I'm honestly not sure how much use I'll get out of them, but I'm glad that the option is there. These are, thankfully, only available to fairies. And look at the eyeballs that they added. Some are rightfully horrific, and others are lovely and multicolored. It's always good to have options. And finally, let's talk about the wings. They are stunning, gorgeous, show-stopping. Similar to tattoo paint mode that we got in businesses and hobbies, you can paint on the wings and add details. This works both with stencils and free-handed drawing. I'm really excited to see what folks on the gallery managed to do with the wing paint mode, because I am extremely impressed by some of the tattoos people have created in tattoo paint mode. There are a ton of options for wing shapes, and I'm not the biggest fan of all of them, but the selection is definitely there. You can also kind of make fawns, which is really cool. The hooves are actually shoes, so the effect only works as intended with certain types of pants, since the hoof boots only go up to about mid-calf. And obviously it looks really weird if you have any pants that tuck into the boots, because then it's just obvious you're wearing boots that look like hooves. So there is an entirely new category of head decorations that has lots of cool stuff, including flower crowns and horns. Like, okay, Mr. Tumnus, we've got the hoofs, we've got the horns, slay. A quick note about the head decorations, there is a minor bug where you can't copy them to other outfits. It was an annoying bug, but not a devastating one. Moving on, I also really like the makeup and accessories that came with the pack. The watering can hat is obviously iconic. I do wish there were some earrings that matched the sparkly neck piece here, but the jewelry is nice, if a little bit sparse. There are several new whimsical, enchanted makeup options to choose from, and they're perfect for fairy sims. I had a ton of fun exploring. You also probably saw in the trailer and stuff, but there is a beard swatch that has flowers. I love it. There are a few new tattoos as well. The Celtic-inspired tattoos are literally gorgeous, and so are the mystical fairy swirls. No notes, some of the swatches even glow. They also literally added me to the game as a tattoo. It's a fairy frog. That's me. Like, that's me right there. However, honored as I may be, I'm not the biggest fan of this style of tattoo that they've been doing, which brings us to the mid. Some of the new tattoos look kind of painted on, more like stamps than like actual tattoos. I think it might have something to do with the pastel, no line art style, but for some reason, they just rub me the wrong way. Will I still use them, especially the fairy frog? Yeah, probably. The hair and clothes are nice. I honestly just wanted more. Specifically this long hair with leaves in it, I really wish they had included a version without leaves. It would have been so cute for just everyday, regular, non-fairy Sims. If you only count unique hairstyles and not slight variations on the same mesh, there are 10 total hairstyles in this pack. 3 that are obviously meant for fairies or non-human Sims, and 7 that work for any Sim. Businesses and hobbies came with 12 unique hairstyles, and high school years came with 11. Even though 10 seems on par with that number, because there are 3 that are not versatile and 7 that are versatile, it just somehow feels like less to me. I saw a similar issue in the clothing items. They tried to split the clothes into 2 styles, fairy items and normal, everyday items. To me, it just ends up feeling like there's not quite enough of either. There are a lot of stunning, beautiful pieces that I adore and everyday items that I'm definitely going to get a lot of use out of, but I was only playing with this pack in Enchanted by Nature. I definitely felt that Cass could be stronger where the outfits are concerned. If you have other packs to lean on, I think it will be super fun to make outfits with the new fairy clothing items, but if you're only playing with the base game in Enchanted by Nature, you might struggle like I did. Moving on to the flop, besides this one dress that I really hated because not only is it slightly ugly, it also has boots and sometimes stockings included, which I just hate when they do this. The only true flop, objectively, from Create-A-Sim are the wing bugs. When I created a fairy straight from Create-A-Sim, saved my game, closed, reopened it later to play with, and revealed her fairy form, her wings were permanently in an intense black shadow. You can see what the wings I made in Cass looked like versus what her wings looked like after this bug occurred. The colors were literally unrecognizable. This was extremely frustrating, and I hardly ever ended up revealing the Sim's fairy form, which I worked really hard on because it bothered me so much just how wrong her wings looked from what I made. When I made a fairy through regular gameplay, this bug wasn't present, so that's something you might want to keep in mind. I did report the issue, so I hope that they'll be able to fix it by time the pack is released, but I'm not sure. A quick note about the wings bug. I made these 2 fairies in Cass to get some footage for the review, and now that I am in gameplay with them, their wings are not shadowed or revealing the bug, so I'm not sure if the bug only happens sometimes or if it only happens with the first save file on a fresh version of the game, but I don't know, at least it doesn't happen all the time, it seems. I don't think I experienced this next bug myself, or I didn't notice if I did, but sometimes fairy wings just disappear. Like, a fairy will be flying around clearly meant to be in their fairy form, but their wings are gone. The team said this is a known bug and they're working on it. I think this bug at least will be fixed by the time the pack is released, so that's good. I'm trying to keep my expectations low, but I have to be honest, if these 2 bugs are not fixed before release, I'll be disappointed. Wings are such a huge draw for this pack and for fairies, and so if they are buggy when the pack is officially released, that is a huge issue. I loved creating a fairy in Cass, and I had so much fun finding the perfect wings for her, but spending ages in Cass to make my fairy look perfect and exactly how I imagined just to go into gameplay and for that to be ruined was really disheartening. If these bugs are addressed, then I think Create-A-Sim is a strength of this pack, especially occult-specific genetics and wings. If these bugs are not addressed, that will be upsetting. Beyond that, though, while I wish there were more clothing options, especially for fairy outfits, this pack definitely adds a lot of options for making fantasy Sims, which I think is a huge win. There are so many more options that we have now without having to lean on custom content alone for D&D or fantasy-themed legacy challenges and Sims, which I find really exciting. So I realized I didn't look at the infant, toddler, child Cass at all. So that's my bad. Let's quickly go over it now. There are no hairs for infant. This hat is really cute though. Oh my God, what? Do infants have any genetics? No. And there are unfortunately no pointy ears for babies. For infants, there are a couple of items, and for toddlers and kids, there are also only a few. They're really cute, but could definitely be more. These new shoes are also available for infants through toddlers, which I love, but the tagging I've noticed is weird. So for infants, they only are tagged as masculine, and then you can see when I age this kid up into a toddler, I tag the fashion choice as masculine, they disappear. That tagging issue is bizarre and annoying. There are no tops or pants for toddlers in Enchanted by Nature, but we do have the same 2 full body outfits we got for infants, plus this one that is also available for children that has little fairy wings on the back and cute little acorn pockets. Again, no new hairs for toddlers. There are the new eye options though. And I heard there is a horrifying bug currently with children and toddler with the new fairy eyes that makes the eyeballs float above their head. So a little bit scary. So moving on to the kids, there are no pants in Enchanted by Nature. There are, however, a couple shirts, which is good. We have these two full body outfits as well. So kids have a few good options, but infants and toddlers are struggling a little bit, even if what we did get is really, really cute. I also forgot to mention this specifically, but I'm really pleased with the selection of masculine items in this pack, and most of them work really well on feminine framed Sims too. Moving on to the build buy, I have to say Enchanted by Nature kind of slays in this department. Starting off with the good, the build style of this pack is gorgeous. The windows are enchanting. They're beautiful. The wood swatches match so well, it is shocking. The doors, stunning. They even added glass walls to the base game, which I haven't got the chance to use in a build quite yet, but I'm really excited to explore. Some glass wall designs are also exclusive to the pack. There are so many fun little items and a whole set of basic necessities like beds, desks, dressers, etc. that match really well in style and swatch. This pack comes with a double bed, a bassinet, a crib, and a toddler bed. If only we had gotten a single bed in that same style, we would be unstoppable. I did find the pack a bit challenging to build with, but a large part of that is because the style is just so out of my comfort zone as a builder and because I was building a starter home. But once I got the hang of it and found the vision, I had a great time making a little hobbit hole house for my Sims. That build is going to be uploaded as a speed build here soon, so definitely keep an eye out for that in the next couple days. I'm really excited to see how well this pack mixes with Realm of Magic, because I sometimes struggle to use Realm of Magic since it's so different from all of the other items we have in the game, and I think that Enchanted by Nature will really complement it. Moving on to the mid, I fear this pack might have the same struggles as Realm of Magic, because another reason I found it a little bit difficult to hit my stride when I was building with the pack is that it's just so different from any of the items we have in the base game, and honestly from the styles that are in most of the other packs as well. This isn't entirely the fault of Enchanted by Nature, but it is something to note if you don't have very many packs and you're thinking about purchasing this one. I also found the wall decor a little bit lacking for inside the house. There's lots of different ivy that's included and a really cute planter box that both work really well for the exterior of houses, but there are only 2 items I saw that would work for the interior that are not obtained through gameplay or debug. Creating pieces with the nature press is also weirdly expensive, and this adds more strain on already lacking wall decor options. So there are some flops in build mode. Enchanted by Nature does not come with a fridge, a stove, or a kitchen sink. This definitely made it really hard to build a nice kitchen because there are so few kitchen appliances in the base game that match the style of Enchanted by Nature at all. When I was building, my base game sink and fridge stuck out like a sore thumb. If you are only playing with fairy sims, this might not be that big of a deal because they don't need to eat, so I guess just don't build a kitchen, but otherwise, it's a struggle. I really wish landscaping was included in this pack. If I didn't lean on debug landscaping when I was building with Enchanted by Nature, I would have had a really hard time. You can find tons of lovely bushes and flowers and trees, but only if you scour through debug. It is so frustrating that you have to use a cheat to even see them. Finally, I experienced a really annoying bug where I could not set certain doors as the front door. I constantly had Sims show up to the side door by my kitchen, and I could do nothing about this because I could not set my intended front door as my front door to be recognized by the game. Hopefully this will be an easy fix, but I know it is an issue with a few different doors from the pack. If you are a big fan of Enchanted Forest vibes, Enchanted by Nature's build mode is definitely a strength. The build style is very focused and unique, which, while that does have drawbacks, I prefer when the devs focus on one build style for a pack because it means that they can fully flesh out one style of decor instead of half-baking 2. Although there are some difficulties when trying to mix this pack with base game items, I do overall really enjoy the furniture style and I think it's really pretty. But if you're not a fan of this specific style, this pack doesn't really have a lot to offer in the building department. Unless I'm playing specifically with fairies or occults, I think a lot of the items from this pack won't get much use in my game, even though they're gorgeous. Before I move on to the next section, I wanted to quickly plug my creator code. If you are planning to snag anything during the Sims summer sale using my creator code at checkout is really helpful. It means I get a small commission on the sale, so if you were already planning to buy a pack while it's discounted, this is a great way to support my channel while you're at it. EA is not paying me to say this, I just have an affiliate code and wanted to let you know. Inniscreen is a gorgeous world inspired by Ireland, where a lot of fairy folklore comes from. Given that this pack is set in Ireland, I really wish the European team had gotten to work on it. Unfortunately, the team in Europe was working on businesses and hobbies, I believe, while the team in North America was working on this pack. Regardless, though, I can still feel that a lot of love went into the world of Inniscreen. Starting with the good, there are 14 total lots in Inniscreen, which is 2 more than the 12 that Nordhaven has. 14 actually seems to be the highest number of lots they're willing to give us in a pack these days. Every expansion since Eco Lifestyle has 14 lots or less, and it's usually less. So as far as map size goes, this is about as good as we can get. And even though it's no Windenburg, Inniscreen still feels pretty big. The Coast of Otmore has 4 lots, while Spruceberry Grove and Everdew each have 5. There are lots of new stalls, stores, and interactable landmarks in the new neighborhoods. It is important to note that all of the stores are rabbit holes, which I don't mind, but I know is a negative for some people. The Coast of Otmore has Num Num, which is a gnome stand where you can buy food and gnomes, as well as a fish shop called Captain's Quarters and a grocery store. Spruceberry Grove has a stream that you can swim and bathe in with the natural living skill, as well as a spot to summon Spruce Almighty, an apothecary stand, a gardening shop, and a used bookstore. Spruceberry Grove is probably my favorite neighborhood to spend time in. It's great for building the natural living skill with lots of space to forage and the stream to bathe in. Everdew has a couple of landmarks as well, with the Mossvale Ferry Hub and Moondrop Springs. There is a gorgeous lot in Everdew that's literally on top of a giant tree. Visually, Everdew on the whole is literally show-stopping, so obviously my Sims lived there. The builds in this pack are gorgeous as well, so a big shout out to the Simmers who got to build for this pack: Cracked Kyber, Nina Schmidt, Sandra Pica, and the Sim Scrolls. Moving on to the mid, the builders used a lot of terrain manipulation for the builds in this pack, which would not be a problem except that terrain tools look so ugly to me from the map preview, because as soon as you do any terrain manipulation on a lot, the game basically fully renders the grass and the land on that lot in the map preview, so it sticks out pretty significantly from the rest of the map and from lots that do not use any terrain manipulation. This fact about terrain manipulation is actually one of my hugest pet peeves about this game, and it's not the builder's fault at all. I think the terrain work that they did is gorgeous. I just really wish the game showed it differently on the map. But still, this is unfortunately the first thing I noticed when I looked at the map for Inniscreen. For some reason, I also found Everdew and Spruceberry Grove especially confusing to navigate, but I will say this happens to me in most neighborhoods in The Sims, and I think it is just a me problem because I have literally terrible directional awareness. There weren't too many flops when it comes to Inniscreen. The only thing that is entirely indefensible is that the Coast of Otmore and Spruceberry Grove both have fishing spots, but for some reason Everdew doesn't. It was really annoying that I had to travel to other neighborhoods in order to complete the fishing parts of the natural living aspiration. Like, Everdew literally has a spring full of emotions and you're telling me there's not a fishing spot anywhere in sight? There's a river going across the entire neighborhood. I also found that the Captain's Quarters in Otmore, where you're supposed to be able to sell excellent fish for a few extra simoleons, didn't work. Whenever I sold fish at Captain's Quarters, even if they were excellent, I sold them for the same amount that I can sell them from my inventory. And I'm sorry to rag again on the Coast of Otmore, but I found the background shells in that neighborhood that kind of populate the rest of the world beyond what is interactable to be extraordinarily ugly. But still, Inniscreen is probably one of my favorite worlds that we've got in a new pack in a while. It's really fun to explore and play in, and it is just overall gorgeous visually, except for those background shells on the Coast of Otmore. I think it has a similar level of gameplay to it that Cottage Living does, which is great, and I absolutely love Henry Bagley, so the fact that we have another kind of similar world is a huge win in my book. Now, speaking of gameplay, there is a lot to discuss about the gameplay in Enchanted by Nature. You know the drill at this point. We're going to start with the good. Fairies are an extremely fun occult type to play with. It will take some time to be sure, but I think fairies might have overtaken vampires as my all-time favorite occult in The Sims 4. The skill and perk system is pretty standard for occults in The Sims 4. It is similar to what they created for vampires. Fairies in The Sims 4 are basically like emotional winged vampires. And honestly, playing as a fairy is like pretty easy. If you go hard on your fairy abilities, you can run out of emotional force pretty quickly, but it's not very hard to regain. You can do that through fairy dust, interacting with the little fairy house, visiting Moondrop Springs, or just absorbing another Sim's emotion. Speaking of Moondrop Springs, it is a really cool landmark. It has a different emotion for each day of the week, and you can bottle its emotions. Like I mentioned, you can absorb emotions from other Sims, including absorbing a negative moodlet from a Sim to clear it. Strong emotions might give your fairy Sim a small tense moodlet if you do this, but as long as you wait a while before absorbing a strong emotion again, whether it's positive or negative, you don't really get punished for it. Fairies can take care of most, if not all, of their needs as long as you give them a fairy house and a toilet. Fairies don't only shrink down when they're going into their fairy house either. They can shrink and play with other items too, like splashing in a sink, which raises their hygiene, or napping in a dollhouse. And there are some changes to gnomes in this pack. Gone are the days of interactable gnomes being Harvest Fest visitors and nothing else. Now we can bring gnomes to life to help with different things around the house. You can do this either by having any Sim who has fairy dust in their inventory bring the gnome to life, or by having a fairy Sim with the high tier Bring Gnome to Life ability cast Bring Gnome to Life on a gnome to bring the gnome, you guessed it, to life. And let me tell you, fairies are OP and gnomes are OP. You can cheat death. You can get functionally infinite rare seeds packets. I swear, I had a gnome helping with gardening and it was just dropping rare seeds packets constantly all over the place. Like, I got so rich. Supposedly, evil gnomes might start to spawn if you bring a gnome to life with fairy magic, but I never experienced that in my gameplay, so I can't speak to the evil gnomes. I only know the helpful ones. Enchanted by Nature comes with 3 new traits, Mystical and Disruptive, and Plant Lover. They're both pretty fun, but I think I'll get more use out of Disruptive than Mystical. And both of the traits come with plenty of new socials. There's a new system similar to the errands that came with Cottage Living. They're called Fables, and it's like errands, but in my opinion, more fun and with added lore. There are specific NPCs that you can get fables from. I believe they're called Fablists. When you ask one to give you a fable and they have one available, they'll give you half of a limericky story related to Innisgreen and a task you need to complete in order to receive the other half of the story. Most of the fables rhyme, which makes them really fun to read, and they usually give you a lore insight into Innisgreen and its history.
And simoleons and exclusive items that are actually useful.
In my gameplay, I found a lot of fun interactable items during fables in Spruceberry Grove that I didn't notice initially. I'll let you discover those, but I have to say Spruce Almighty might be my favorite fabulist. Speaking of NPCs, I honestly didn't pay that close attention to the townies. I low-key never do unless my sim is marrying one. So they seemed fine. I didn't have a chance to properly romance Spruce or Mother Nature in my personal gameplay, but I will say that your sim unfortunately cannot marry either one of them. You can woohoo or be in a relationship with either of them, but they will never move in and you cannot propose. There is lore behind that, so I suggest grabbing some fables and trying to figure it out if you decide to get the pack. There is a new death for fairies, death by emotional starvation. This occurs when you completely run out of emotional force, and it is incredibly difficult to achieve, let me tell you. Fairies can also die by becoming overloaded when they absorb too many powerful emotions in a row, but this causes an emotion death and not a new pack-specific death. And I am pleased to report there is a new woohoo interaction exclusive to fairies. Woohoo in the sky. The animation for this is so funny and I had a great time with it. And even if your fairy sim's partner is disappointingly mortal, you can still woohoo them in the sky as long as you're controlling the fairy. I really enjoy the natural living skill as well, especially foraging. It will be a game changer in Rags to Riches. I am super excited to play Rags to Riches with this pack on my Twitch channel this week. They also added the ability to bathe in water with the natural living skill, and this ability will apply to wadeable water in any world outside of Innisgreen in The Sims 4. Moving on to the mid, I'm not entirely certain how I feel about the balance and luck systems that come with Enchanted by Nature. Generally, your Sims will remain balanced as long as you take good care of them, but if you don't, or if something awful happens like their girlfriend dying, not speaking from experience, just a random example, your Sim might become unbalanced. On a completely unrelated note, the only time my Sims became unbalanced was when I was actively trying to kill one of them. So for that reason, balance seems a little bit too easy and like it doesn't affect the game all that much. But when your Sim is unbalanced, they're more more likely to get one of the weird ailments that come with this pack, which, I mean, was annoying, but again, I only ever got any of those when I was actively trying to kill a sim. So if balance feels a little underwhelming, then the luck system feels a little overwhelming. I like the idea, and when your sim has good luck, it's great. But one of my sims started with bad luck for some reason, and I swear it felt like it never changed unless I had a fairy manually use the ability to shift my sim's luck. It was rough, especially because this is the sim I was playing the apothecary skill with, and she was having terrible luck foraging. The luck system, to me, just made one of my sims feel vastly worse at like most things than either of my others. I'm not sure if I just got unlucky with that one sim consistently having bad luck day after day, or if luck doesn't really change unless you interact with a fairy or with Spruce Almighty and have them specifically shift your luck. Speaking of Spruce and other Fablists, I did notice a potential bug where Fable Givers changed to randomly generated sims sometimes, but the original Fable Giver still exists in the world, and if you found them roaming around where they're not meant to be, they can still give you a fable. It wasn't a major issue because I was still able to complete all of the fables I acquired this way, but it was jarring and a little bit confusing. As far as Enchanted by Nature's aspirations go, they're like fine. The fairy one was pretty fun. I completed that with both the harmonious and the discordant fairy paths, but even those just kind of seemed like a tutorial. I can say pretty much the same for the natural living skill, even though I wasn't able to max that skill and finish that aspiration in my 6+ hours of gameplay. The skill seriously takes so long to build. I really hope they tweak the skill gain rate because my poor sim was sleeping on the ground every day for weeks and still didn't max the natural living skill.
When I played with the natural living skill on Twitch, my sim actually maxed the skill really fast, so I'm not sure if sleeping on the ground just doesn't give you that much skill, if I was doing something wrong, or if it's inconsistent.
It has been a long time since an aspiration has really impressed me, so I'm not surprised by the state of aspirations in this pack, just disappointed. Hi, I had to stop filming for a bit, so I look a little bit different, but let's go ahead and move on to the flop. There are, unfortunately, a few flops in the gameplay besides the rate at which sims build the natural living skill. I'll say it, the apothecary skill is boring to me. The naturopath career is boring to me. And the ailments in general, I just do not care about. The naturopath career is especially annoying and slow when you treat patients at home because you can only treat one per day and it takes so long even when you know the sim is obviously suffering from the greeny meanie ailment or the gnome lure ailment because there are gnomes all over your kitchen floor. And it feels weirdly anti-science and anti-medicine. I know the Sims does actually have magical illnesses given by fairies, so it's a little bit different, but it's still hard not to think about. Moving on, unplayed fairies are extremely annoying. If you live in Everdew, especially, expect them to use their grubby little fairy abilities on your Sims constantly. It is slightly absurd, like, what are we, vampires on release? Do you remember when they used to come to your house every night? I swear, they are bothering my Sims several times a day. I'm hoping that similarly to how vampire behavior was tuned over the years to become much less annoying, the same will be done for fairies. Because at this point, it's hilariously ridiculous. There is also a very small update to plant sims, which is nice. However, they have been marketing it as a feature of the pack, which is slightly weird because it is such a small change to plant sims. Like, no systems are overhauled, it's just a few new interactions. A few days ago in the Sims Discord server, they posted an announcement that lists all of the plant sim changes present in Enchanted by Nature. This confirmed that the plant sim update comes with the pack, but there are really no good reasons for a lot of these features to be paywalled. In total, the plant sims get 8 new interactions, according to the now deleted Discord post. And the changes are overall not that exciting. Some of them feel more like quality of life. And while some interactions like Poison Kiss, which interacts with the greeny meanie ailment, make sense to be paywalled behind the pack, ones like absorbing solar energy from plants and being in water filling Plant Sim's water motive should absolutely be base game in my opinion.
One other thing I found extremely annoying is that Sims who are plant lovers get sad when they harvest plants from the garden because they're hurting the plant. So if you wanted your plant lover Sim to be a gardener, just be prepared for that. I would definitely wait to see see what the bugs look like once the pack is out before purchasing.
I really wanted to love the gameplay in this pack, but I just don't. It's a mixed bag. I still had a really, really good time playing through the pack, even if it wasn't what I had imagined. The direction they went in with fairies being emotion-based was really interesting, but I wish that more classic Fae abilities had been included as well. I was really hoping for Fae bargains, manipulative Fae who aren't able to lie but can still mislead, and maybe even some special deception socials for fairies that aren't technically lies. Fairies are definitely the gameplay strength of this pack, but even that wasn't exactly what I had really hoped for in a Sims 4 Fairies pack. The inclusion of the naturopath career just feels extraneous to me, and I can't really make myself care about ailments or the apothecary skill in general. That is just my very subjective opinion. It is based only on my gameplay preferences, so you might feel completely differently, and maybe one day I'll change my mind and warm up to these aspects of the pack. I just honestly wish that the resources that went into developing those aspects of the pack had gone into like anything else. So, I have given you a lot of information, and at this point, you're probably wondering if I think Enchanted by Nature is worth your money. That's a hard question for me to answer for this pack because I would still buy it for myself even knowing everything I know now. But I am a fairy princess fantasy freak, so I would always buy fairies for The Sims 4 no matter what. But for most players, I don't necessarily think this is a must-buy in a way a lot of the other recent expansions are, because it just doesn't appeal to most people's everyday gameplay at all. Many of the cast and build-buy items, while gorgeous, are an extremely niche, magical, fantastical style that will probably be difficult to incorporate unless you are going for a very specific vibe. If fairies appeal to you, if you are really excited about the natural living skill and love rags to riches, or if you totally disagree with me about the apothecary and naturopath aspects of the pack, it might be worth your money to buy Enchanted by Nature at full price.
If the bugs are fixed on release.
But if that doesn't sound like you, or you're not a huge fantasy nerd, then I don't think this pack is a must-buy. If you still want to buy Enchanted by Nature, even after hearing everything I have to say, because I know that would be me in your position, I think it is a good pack that you will have fun with. It definitely has drawbacks, but I still had a great time playing with it. But if after hearing what I have to say, you're uncertain and find yourself thinking, do I really need this? You might want to skip out on this one or wait until it goes on sale in a few months.
And even if you really want fairies, I would definitely wait until the pack is more stable and most of the bugs are fixed if you want to buy it and plan to do any gameplay.
Thank you so much for watching. If you end up getting any Sims packs on the EA app during the Sim Summer Sale, or you end up buying Enchanted by Nature, I would really appreciate it if you used code mivyard at checkout to help support me. I've never done a review video before, so let me know what you think in the comments and if you would like to see more scripted videos like this one. If you enjoyed the review, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. It seriously helps out a ton. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow for more Enchanted by Nature content. Bye, everyone.